Hey guys, I'm Kyle with Narrative. We're here with Tyler Rye today talking about his workflow, his wedding photography career, and everything about his business. How's it going, Tyler?
Good. Thanks for having me. It's always fun to get to chat with new people and share my experience. So hopefully I can bring something helpful to this video series
Yeah,
you guys are doing.
yeah, I think so too. I was looking through your work today and it's really gorgeous. You're obviously photographing all over the world and doing incredible work. How long have you been in the wedding industry?
About 12 years now. I started right after I got married. Um, it's been about the last 5, 6 years I've really been shooting the kind of elopements I'm shooting now, where I'm traveling more.
Cool.
Before that, it was a lot of traditional weddings.
Yeah, is that what you initially wanted to get into when you first started shooting? Were like, I want to be shooting elopements in beautiful places?
No, not at all. I was very naive. I thought I would get into it and be a National Geographic photographer, like the
Oh
first.
yeah.
Yeah, pretty typical. I had a very outdoorsy childhood. We did a lot of camping, hiking, hunting, all that kind of stuff. And so I was more drawn to that kind of photography, but quickly realized I wasn't going to be making a whole lot of money anytime soon. So I eventually fell into the wedding world that way.
Yeah, I think where you're at right now really is like that perfect intersection between like people ask me as I was kind of working through my career, what do I like shooting most? And I always really did answer people. And if I was in a beautiful place, I'll take photos of that place, but I'm not a landscape photographer.
Yeah.
But I like being in those places, but those mountains don't pay the bills, but the people in front of them totally do.
Yeah, yeah. If you can find the balance, it's a fun space to be in. Um, I really like it. It gives me the chance to get outside and feel more like myself. I actually kind of get anxiety when I'm shooting in a city where there's people
Really?
everywhere and buildings. Yeah, it's really weird for me. Like just the stress of trying to find parking is weird.
Yeah, sometimes I'll visit, I live in Chicago and I'll visit New York and sometimes I'll be there with like another wedding photographer friend and I go, "Man, this seems really stressful to like try to have gear, get to a place, get there on time, get up the stairs, every building has a weird different entrance
Yeah,
thing. If you're a videographer, which I'm not thankfully, would be extra
an
stressful.
extra nightmare.
Yeah, I don't think I could do that two days a weekend every weekend for the summer. That would be really bad.
Yeah, I'm definitely happy I found my space.
Do you ever find yourself getting nervous at like a new beautiful place that you're at or anything? Like when you're going like I know that my like very first like, oh gosh, this place is so beautiful that if I don't do a good job, I've really fucked up.
Yeah. um, no, and I think a lot of it is just because I spend a lot of time researching like each location before I even go, so I have an idea of where I want to put people, kind of what I want to do. I think when you first get into it, there's that. I don't know. I mean, maybe sometimes I get a little nervous, but probably
Yeah.
I'd lean to more towards no, just because of the amount of prep I do beforehand.
Yeah, that makes sense. I started photographing with my dad when I was younger. I was like 14 or 15, and so he brought me to a lot of weddings. So my first like teenage years, I was going to like 100 plus weddings already. So by the time that I actually did take photos for a company, years later, I was chill about it because I've already been to so many weddings. It really didn't bother me.
It's
But
pretty cool.
there was something about this elopement in Barcelona that I think it's because Jordan Voth had shot at this very specific garden before I got there, and I made it a point to not look at his blog. And I was walking with the videographer, and I went, "Oh man, this place is incredible. I better do a good job."
Yeah, there's some serious pressure, especially if you allow yourself to look at what other photographers are doing. I've kind of adopted the mind your own business motto: focus on you and try not to look at what other photographers are doing. I mean, you still have to look for inspiration and find people that inspire you, but I really try not to follow along with what everybody's doing.
I think comparison is really the thief of joy, and
Mhm.
I mean, we were just talking before we hit record about social media, and that was a huge thing for me, and it still is to this day. I go to therapy and deal with some issues with envy and jealousy and things like that. It's something that really affects all aspects of my
Yeah.
life. But I found myself following really close friends of mine in the wedding industry and getting really jealous when a booking would that we'd both get, and they'd get it, and then I'd see it in a magazine later or something like
Yeah.
that. But yeah, I made it a point on like that one to not look at any images from anyone else until after I got home, so I could be like, okay, I'm already done. It's in the tank. Let's see how it
Yeah.
compares, you know.
Do you feel like that helped a lot? You,
Yeah, honestly, and I'm sorry if Jordan, if you're watching this ever, but yeah, I looked at it and I went, oh man, I did way better. This is like, I killed it. I'm so glad I didn't look at his stuff at all. It probably would have messed me up really badly. So yeah, I felt really good about it.
that's cool. Very cool.
Yeah, and I think even the groom was a photographer, and he kind of set me in check there for a second because we were talking, and he goes, "Well, we hired you because we love you." And I was like, "Okay, that's great, cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for I need a little bit of external validation sometimes."
Yeah. Definitely helps when your clients aren't like looking for the best price. They're looking for the photographer that they really want.
Yeah, I love whenever I've had the opportunity to work with other photographers, even just for like little things throughout the day. I remember photographing somebody in New York actually, and I went to go kill all the ambient lights in the room, and it made it pretty dark. And I told her, I was like, "Hey, don't worry, it looks pretty dark." And she goes, "Oh, I know what you're doing. It's cool. Don't worry about it." And
Nice.
that was it. Just set the tone for the day. I went, "Oh yeah, she does not need my like explanation of anything. She totally gets it," and it made everything so
Mhm.
easy. What are your type of clients that you're pulling in? Where would you say you have a demographic of people, or people that are traveling and saying, "Hey, we want to jump across to this place, the Dolomites, or something like that"?
Most people do find me either through social media or referral from a friend that I've shot before. It sounds weird saying that I shot before.
I know
um,
it's we made photos
I've
of before.
documented before.
Yeah,
But yeah, most of them are either based in the US, or I'd say like maybe 8 out of 10 are US and then the rest are abroad. But usually they're following and they want to know where I'm traveling to, or they've seen a place that I've shot at and they want to go back. I get a lot for Iceland, which is good and bad because now I have 4 trips to Iceland this year. And my wife's not a huge fan of back to back trips. So I try and fill them up as much as I can. And I'm kind of stuck in a weird place because I'm doing a workshop over there. And so I have to advertise, market for the workshop, but I end up getting more elopements at the same time. So
it's
it's,
kind of oddly this really easy place to market. At least I found I really wanted Iceland elopements like everyone else did 4 or 5 years ago, and still to this day. And I went there and I got a dress company. I got Grace Loves Lace to send me some dresses, and I found some people that were expats, and boom, I had content. And then with that and like just a little bit of work, suddenly I had 2 or 3 inquiries a month for
mhm.
Reykjavik out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Finding the ones that the budget lined up for and like tracked with everything is a whole nother thing. But once you have it there, it really starts to flow in a lot.
Yeah. I feel like you book what you post. So if you're wherever you're
Yeah.
trying to, or not even just post, but what you're sharing, that's the kind of stuff you're going to draw more clients to. So
I've always like not only just you are going to book what you show, but you're not going to book what you don't show. So I feel like throughout the culling process, of course, as we're talking about narrative today,
mhm.
but throughout the culling process, I feel like I call through a couple of different mentalities as I'm working through. I go, okay, this is what it's going to be like for the client. This
Mhm.
is going to be like what it's like for the blog or for social media or for a feature or for future advertisement. I kind of have to have a few different hats on as I cull through.
When I get into culling, it kind of goes hand in hand with my shooting style because at the end of the day, the pictures are for my clients. So
Yep.
when I'm out there shooting, I mean, I know like I see a really good composition. I know like this shot's going to be great for sharing. At the end of the day, I'm trying to tell a story of where they started. I don't know, start with their getting race shots, and we go through that, and then go all throughout the whole process of them doing their first look if they do one, and then portraits and ceremony and all that stuff. So when I get back to culling, I'm really just kind of going through and getting enough to tell the complete story without doing a ton of the same shot. I used to shoot film, a little bit of film and digital. Now I'm just
Yep.
all digital. But I think that approach, just shooting with film for a few years, teaches you to slow down. I hate
Yeah.
photographers say, "Oh, I'm a slow shooter now." Like I slow down, but really, I don't like rapid fire. I don't shoot very fast, so I don't have a ton of similar images to go through when I'm calling. So really, it's just going through and picking the best shot and trying not to give the client 5 of the same picture.
I used to deliver just an obscene amount of images for weddings when I was shooting stuff in like the Chicago suburbs, and it would be 11, 12, 1,300 images, and some of these were like 6 photos of the ring pillow at different angles. It just unnecessary, and I can't imagine being a client going through it and not getting bored four or 500 images through of their day and be like, okay, he sent me a lot. This is going to take a while to get through. I'm kind of over it now. So the idea of slowing down a little bit, I shoot a couple of rangefinders just to purposefully go, okay, you're going to go out today. Why don't you take like 5 pictures as your fun photos? You don't need to come back home from a coffee afternoon with 85 images to go through.
Well, I'm shooting with the GFX 100S, so it's
Nice.
not a fast camera. So I think I have like five frames per second. So I can't really shoot
Yeah.
that fast, anyways. So luckily, I don't have that problem. But the cool thing about narrative is just you can tell if somebody's in focus if they're looking down, if they're looking at you. I like the feature where it tells you if there's similar pictures and there's one better coming up, so I don't have to like go back and forth.
Yeah, it sounds like you're a pretty calculated shooter, which really lends itself to all the features and the power that Select has. Were you using anything else prior to Select or any other third-party apps outside of Lightroom to go through your culling process before?
There was a time I tried Photo Mechanic, but I didn't like having to, because I've been shooting for so long and doing the same thing that it's hard for me to try a new system.
Yeah.
So even going with narrative was hard for me at first to get into it, but I found a workflow that works really good. But I used to just do it in Lightroom, all of it in Lightroom. I tried Photo Mechanic for a while, and I didn't love the software. It felt weird to me. And that was a while ago. I don't know what they're like now, but Narrative Select is really, I like how easy it is to use. But my process, I come home from a shoot. Depending how late it is, I might just put my bag in the office and not do anything until the next day. But generally, I'll upload the pictures just so I know that they're saved and backed up and all of that. And then I maybe will edit one or two for social media, and then I'll just let them sit until it's time to edit. And what I like about narrative is I just drag and drop the photos I'm going to edit or going to cull, and then I'll go in and narrative and cull through them all. And then I just go back to Lightroom and hit, what is it, read metadata or something like that.
Yeah, I think read metadata or read EXIF data. I think read metadata.
Yeah. I click on that, and then it just automatically updates all my files in Lightroom, and I can go right to. So I don't even do the whole export, import, that kind of thing.
Oh, nice. That's a cool workflow that I don't think anyone else I've chatted with is doing it that way, which that was a way that I wanted to use Photo Mechanic. I had hoped when I first tried it that I could still just kind of do a mass dump in the Lightroom, but I could never, and maybe I didn't give it enough time either, but I could never quite get Photo Mechanic to line up with its rating system with what I was using in Lightroom and kind of talk to each other. And so unfortunately abandoned that entire idea. But yeah, on your note of hard to like kind of stuck in ways or like doing the same thing, I feel like there's a ton of tools and apps that even now I hear and read about or are presented with and I go, I've already been doing this for a while. But yeah, the ease of adoption of something like Select or even Photo Mechanic at the time was really handy, and it's the reason I hadn't jumped to anything else, because I think about my experience of changing from Shoot Q to Tave and just how overwhelming it was to handle and do. Are there any other tools that you are similar within Select that you're using that like really have helped benefit your business that you were like tough to try to jump on board with?
Well, actually, right now I'm trying out an AI editing program. Yeah, I've tried outsourcing my editing before, and it was just I always had to re-edit. I wasn't impressed. But now I'm a lot further along in my career. I have 3 kids, 2 dogs, traveling a ton. So something has to give. Like either I book less, make less money. So anyway, I'm looking into this AI editing and seeing if it's something that can work for me, at least to get my edits to like a very close to where
Yeah.
I'm at.
Have you found it to be pretty successful for you in that, or that you just have to kind of go back through and do a second round of things?
I haven't even got to that phase yet.
Yeah.
So I have to upload 5,000 edited
Yep.
smart previews. And I started this like in the dead season. So I haven't had enough shoots yet. But next week is basically I start hitting the ground running. So I should be able to
Cool.
get pictures in there pretty quick.
Yeah, when you're coming back from a shoot from, let's say, an elopement, what's your kind of image count? Because obviously you're shooting these kind of adventure elopements
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah. So I'm usually in the 1,000, maybe 1,200 range
Oh
for
wow,
a
that's
full
awesome.
day. So not a ton in comparison, but I mean, it's not a full day of shooting though, really, because some of it's hiking and then resting. They're getting dressed, and then actual shooting in between. But yeah, I'm very light on the trigger, I would say. I don't know, I'm kind of a mix of posing people and then giving them a set of directions to flow through. Um, but I've never been one to just hit a bunch of pictures and then go back and cull through all of them and try and pick the best one. It just seems like a nightmare to me.
Yeah, I would say your demeanor in general, just from our brief interactions, along with looking at your photos, it's always kind of neat to connect those two dots. And I can see how you would set people up, kind of let them do their thing, little prompt, and all right, let's move along.
Yeah, I think one of the things you have to learn as a photographer is to pick your strengths, like, and go with your personality. Like, I'm not the one that's going to have like all these giddy random like poses, like you're just flying people through. That's just not my personality, you know. So I kind of go with the strength of I'm really good at finding cool locations and incorporating people into those locations. Like, yeah, I'll still get candid stuff, but it's not going to be people like laying on the ground giggling in each other's face. Nothing against that. It's just not.
No, I don't have that either. I see these photos and they talk about the fiance backpack is like a posing prompt, and they're running through fields and they're so excited, and I'm like, I do not, I don't
Yeah.
have that in me to like get these really like giggly, fun, Hallmark looking images. My stuff has to look sad and gloomy, like they're depressed, because I only need one or two of those.
Also, having to realize that not every couple is going to be able to produce like that kind of photo. So
Yeah.
having the ability to like, hey, I'm going to direct this like we're filming a movie. Here's what I want you guys to do, and then you step back and you just take pictures while it happens. Like you're still getting those kind of candid moments, but it doesn't have to be a million prompts and forced. And
I wish I had gotten better with having a repertoire of those posing things, because whenever I did come up with something on the fly, like I think of this couple that I had, they had flown in from Italy to shoot with me while I was visiting Ireland, and so we just kind of went out on this big field and this kind of sort of short hike and just kind of winged it.
mm,
And I sent them off 100 feet away, and I said, just play tag, but don't let the other person get you. It was like something like that, and they just ended up running around a lot, like sort of trying to like joke at each other, and it created two people like running around on a little hilltop, which was great. And I thought, man, if I could only have 50 more of those, that would be
yeah,
really helpful.
yeah. Well, the industry has changed so much too because there's so many different apps and guides and stuff for that. Just posing ideas, like if you are struggling with that, which is pretty cool. I think my problem is maybe humbling myself and like actually purchasing advice from other photographers. I don't know.
Yeah, I've seen those little posing card kits that come through, and I always thought, man, whoever could get that dropped in the EVF while you're shooting would really make a lot of money. Like if I could just have that in the top right
Yeah.
corner, that would really really kill her. But yeah, it's been forever since I've purchased a workshop from someone or went somewhere, because I thought, well, I've done a couple of these now. I got it. I figured it out. If I'm gonna like go learn from Dylan or something, or it's anybody, I'll just go get them coffee and hang out with them instead.
That works
But
too.
yeah, it is humbling to go, okay, I gotta go learn a new thing.
Yeah, I've been focusing on like Google ads and Facebook ads and different kind of marketing because just for so long I've relied strictly on Instagram, and I feel like that's not going to be the best route if you keep moving forward.
Yeah, I had all my eggs in the Instagram basket for so long, and at a certain point, I outsourced some SEO. I said, hey, you're better at this. You're going to keep up with it. You can kind of go to my website and tweak it. But yeah, I think one year it was 60% of my business and inquiries were coming from Instagram, and then it just like nosedived like within the next couple of years after that. So
That's crazy. Yeah, it's scary
yeah.
how quickly things can change. For me, the best part about Narrative Select has been saving so much time going through Lightroom. I shoot GFX, the Fuji, so it's really large files, so it can take a long time to load, even if I'm using Smart Previews. So for me, just saved a ton of time being able to use Narrative Select. It cut down my culling from hours to 20, 30 minutes at the most, depending on the session. And especially if you're shooting traditional weddings where you're doing family shots, any kind of shot where there's a bunch of people in it, being able to quickly see, okay, everybody's faces are looking at me, everybody's eyes are open, or Uncle John's looking in the wrong direction again. Like you can just go through quick. You don't have to sit there and manually look at each picture, which is really cool. So it's a huge, huge time saver, in my opinion. If you're one of those photographers that tends to take the same shot I don't want to say over and over again, but if you take like 10 different versions of the same shot, you can quickly compare all of those and move on to the next one. Definitely something that you should be doing outside of Lightroom, and it's so much faster. And it's so easy to just incorporate your selections from narrative back into Lightroom so you can get right to editing when you're ready. Yeah, I think any professional photographer is trying to balance their home life and their work life. And especially if you're like me and you're traveling around everywhere, any any part of your business that you can cut the time you spend working out gives you more time to spend with your family. So I think it's definitely something that's been a real win for me. I think they reached out to me during COVID. Maybe it might have been a little bit before then, but I think that's when I really started giving it a chance when I had time. I feel like all of us, we had more time during COVID where we're working on
Yeah,
our websites and working on all kinds of other things. So that was something I could start incorporating into my workflow because I mean, when you get shooting and it's in your busy season, it's the last thing you want to do is try something new. Like that'll slow you down. Um,
yeah,
but I would say now that I'm using it, no matter where you're at, no matter what time of year, I think it's a smart move for you to take a few hours to get used to it. Uh, Definitely a game changer.
that's awesome. So where can people find you? What do you have going on? Do you have any workshops or presets or anything out in the world people can grab onto?
Yep. It's pretty easy to remember. Tyler Rye. It's tylerrye.com, Tyler Rye on
Awesome.
Instagram, Tyler Rye on Facebook. Yeah, I do host workshops throughout the year. My next open workshops, there's a few that are sold out, but I have one coming up in Iceland in August and Scotland in October, which both still have a few spots left open.
Nice.
But
That's
you can
awesome.
only come if you like cool adventures and awesome shoots and hanging out with fun people. If you're
Oh,
not into
that sounds like the worst.
that.
I don't think I want to go.
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
that's
cool. Thanks for taking the time to chat with us today and tell us about your process. And I'm stoked to keep following your work now and
okay.
for our next chat.
Okay, looking forward to it.